On the sidelines of a very important and significant visit to Egypt, we're really honored to have with us here on Nile TV International, and on the first time on exclusive with Taghreed Hussein, His Excellency Mr. Kairat Sarybay, the Executive Director of the Secretariat of the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining Nile TV International.
Thank you so much. I'm very much pleased and honored to have the wonderful talk with most influential lady of Egypt, as I was talk today.
We'd like to know more about CICA. We know that the forum is celebrating its 30th anniversary in 2022, so definitely there are lots of priorities for today.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning the 30th anniversary. It's about the launch of the initiative, which was proposed by the very first president of Kazakhstan, Mr. Nursultan Nazarbayev. You can imagine that it was the very first appearance of the newly independent state at the high rostrum of UN General Assembly. And young, dynamic, energetic President Nazarbayev spoke not only about his new independent country, but rather how we should create the system of security in entire Asian continent, because Kazakhstan belongs to Asia, partly, although the small portion of the country lies also in Europe. So I think we have to distinct that it was the initiative, but we will celebrate the 20th anniversary of the very first CICA summit meeting back in 2002. That was in Almaty, when the heads of states agreed to adopt the Almaty Act, which is a charter of the CICA to some extent, but that was the very first steps as CICA just started to make the first historical steps. That was my pleasure to come, I guess, for the third time to Egypt. I visited before because of non-aligned movements ministerial meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh. I visited also Cairo in capacity of the task force leader for Kazakhstan's OIC chairmanship, and this time I am in a different capacity, representing 27 nations. Egypt is a special place. I've been yesterday to Luxor, and I saw the wonderful civilizations. But one thought also visited me. We have to think about the sustainability, because you can create a giant columns, but if you will not taking care on that, if you are not taking care on security and cooperation, on peace, then it could also disappear. And some archaeologists will find maybe in a later some of the paths of your civilization. So CICA is about confidence, CICA is about security, is about peace, and definitely we have so many in common with the cradle of civilization, the Egypt, because Egypt is also the important place for multilateral diplomacy.
There are lots of international organizations that are working on the field of security as well as also cooperation goals. However, CICA is unique. What is unique about CICA?
Thank you. CICA has 5 main dimensions for interaction. We agreed on them at this Almaty Act, as I mentioned before, in 2002. There are well-known dimensions. It's military, political one. It's the new threats and challenges. Another 3 dimensions are ecological one, economical one, and human dimension. So this is the major directions of our interaction. Indeed, there are many regional organizations like Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We have also ASEAN. We have the Arab League that I visited headquarters today. What is the difference? First, CICA, it's a huge geography. Look to the map, it's stretching from the Pacific to Mediterranean, or if you wish, to Nile. It's from the Urals to Indian Ocean. First and foremost, it's the geography, overarching platform. If you will take some other regional organizations, the decisions are usually mandatory, and the scope of that organization that are a bit more narrow, or reflecting the more narrow geographical scope. CICA can provide the platform to member states which time to time bilaterally cannot see each other because of differences, because of some discrepancies on the ground, or because of some conflicts. This is also true. But CICA providing this platform to those member states to have the dialogue, to have the trust, to talk about confidence. You cannot believe in any security, and you cannot talk about development without the very simple trust and confidence. And this is about CICA. This is about how Bahrain can approach Sri Lanka, how Cambodia can approach Jordan, for instance. So this is the distinction of CICA comparing to some other regional organizations. And CICA has no any appetite to replace all of them. We can only serve for synergy, for getting win and win.
The forum nearly covers 90% of Asia, so there is a sense of diversity if we're talking about cultures, talking about religions, as well as the diversity of the nations on. Would you kindly tell us more about the role of the Arab world and CICA?
That's true. Arab world is represented by 7 member states. I think that we still have a potential to extend, because we have a criteria. The countries which located, partly at least in Asia, can be member state. So I think that Arab world, by its 7 member states, enriching CICA agenda, providing the possibility to talk about the experience of Arab countries. I would like to have the meeting with Egyptian Foreign Minister, Mr. Shukri, and I would like to invite that Egypt will second its diplomats to the Secretariat, because, as I mentioned, 7 Arab-speaking countries, we are member states of CICA, but so far we hadn't any experience of Arab diplomats working in Secretariat. So that would be my request for tomorrow. But today, the rich heritage of Arab world, the agenda that is also generated by Arab countries is an asset of CICA. And I'm very much happy to be here now.
The chairmanship of the forum was transferred to Kazakhstan in 2020. So the priorities of Kazakhstan at this post.
Thank you. I think that Kazakh chairmanship would like to generate new ideas based on the 30 years of experiences. The main idea to capitalize such historical way into the new bold decision. It's about the transformation of CICA into a full-fledged international organization on regional security. This idea was promoted first by President Nazarbayev himself, was very much backed by the second president, Mr. Tokayev, who is currently the head of the state. According to the chairmanship priorities, it is a time to take a bold decision forward, because Asia plays nowadays a very crucial role in global affairs. We do see that some other outsiders of the region generating good ideas for Asia. Why we Asian nations cannot address the new role of Asia by shaping or reshaping CICA, adapting it to the new realities. And this is about the Kazakh priorities. There are some others, like the establishment of Council of Eminent Persons, just to have on board those people who served already to the CICA. To my mind, Mr. President Nazarbayev, I spoke to him and he supported very enthusiastically this idea. To my mind come Mr. Amr Musa, for instance. If we can also use his his experience for the benefit of CICA. This is about the Council of Eminent Persons. We have also a good idea to have the CICA think tank forum, which existing already, to turn it into the institution of our forum. And the third one, among the institutional reforms, Kazakhstan also offer to establish the CICA fund. The main idea is just to make CICA operational, to make CICA more visible and effective on the ground. We can conduct the official development aid programs, for instance, from donor countries to the countries which are in need, or we can also address the emergency situation like COVID-19. So the idea of Kazakhstan priority to make CICA effective, to make CICA useful, to make CICA a modern organization for the security and cooperation in Asia.
So the sky is always the limit if we talk about your dreams for CICA, Your Excellency, in the coming phase.
First and foremost, I truly believe that Asia can play a more effective role in global affairs. The globe today is a village, and Asia is a significant part of this village. I hope that the peace ideas, as you mentioned, creativity of Asia can serve to the global security, to the global development. We have to take our responsibility, and this is my dream, to get more stronger, more cohesive, more harmonic Asia, serving to the global peace and security.
Yes. Your Excellency, lots of developments have been going on in Egypt under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, whether on the side of infrastructure, in the field of sustainable development and more. How about the added value that you have witnessed this time during this important visit to Egypt?
Indeed. I value very much Egypt's role in facilitating some difficulties on the ground in this part of the world. According to my terminology, I don't call it Middle East. I prefer to call it West Asia, because I am Asia-centric one. I think that Egypt can play in CICA its prominent role, also bridging Asia to Africa, not only to this part of the world. I realized that despite the 1,000 years of history, you are very dynamic youth, and you have the very interesting economic development. I went yesterday to Luxor along the Nile first. I saw the settlements, I saw the villages, I saw villagers, I saw very interesting people, but on the way back I went through the desert autobahn. So it means that you developing very fastly, and you're taking care on this development. So I can only express my amazing on the level of development. I remember my last visit was practically 9 years before, and I do see the huge differences.
Excellency, Ambassador Mr. Kairat Sarybay, the Executive Director of the Secretariat of the Conference of Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, we thank you so much for joining exclusive with Taghreed Hussein. Thank you, dear viewers, for joining us here on Nile TV International. And next week, another top notch on exclusive.